Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. If you're an employer that has had the misfortune of choosing 5 CVs or resumes from a pile of 50 to 100, you'll know that after about 10 minutes, they all look the same. Because everyone is passionate, proactive, team player that is goal-driven, flexible, self-motivated, multitasking, independent individual with a strong work ethic. Admit it, you're drifting off already, right? Because you've heard these buzzwords time and time again. They say so much, but say very little about the candidate. But as a potential employee, how do you make yourself stand out from a pile of 2-page black and white PDF files or Word documents consisting of nothing but plain text? Now, I've known for some time that the current recruitment process is looking dated or even broken. But I come across a company here in Manchester in England that are using an AI interface that can be edited anywhere on any device using a simple online interactive editor that will create that CV or resume to make you stand out from the crowd. So anyone looking for a 21st century CV to impress their prospective employers and stand out from the crowd, they should really enjoy this one. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Manchester, England, so we can speak with Anthony Rose from InfoCV. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone who's listening today a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, my name's Anthony Rose, and we've created the world's first interactive AI CV writing service.
Now, with this podcast, I'm always on a never-ending quest to showcase how technology is transforming every industry. So when I first read how you're giving the humble CV, or a resume for my American listeners, a 21st century upgrade, I had to get you on the show today because I believe InfoCVs can now be created in seconds using an AI interface and edited anywhere or on any device. But for anyone listening that's new to what you guys are doing, can you give a brief overview exactly what InfoCV is and also what problems you're trying to solve with this platform?
So basically, we were having a lot of feedback from people within the recruitment industry that the standard of CVs wasn't particularly good. People were struggling to use Microsoft Word to create a good-looking CV. The recruiters were struggling to store and share the CVs, and the hiring managers at companies were struggling to search the CVs and find the best candidates that were suitable for the role. And that's what led us to coming up with the idea of InfoCV. Basically, it's easy to create, it's easy to share, and it's easy for recruiters and hiring managers to store and search.
Now, I think anyone listening that's had to go through the recruitment process on either side, whether you've got 30, 40 CVs or resumes to go through and trying to find one that stands out from the crowd when they all look the same and they're all using the same buzzwords, will pretty much agree that the current system's broken. So we know what the problem is, but can you tell me your story behind launching the company and what the inspiration was behind InfoCV?
Well, initially, what we wanted to create was almost the Tinder of recruitment, so that people can hire faster. The original idea was if you're available at home at the moment, you can set yourself as available to work, and if somebody is looking for people, they can set themselves as having a job available. What we discovered, though, is people can't actually hire that fast. There's lots of legislation that gets in the way. You have to collect up national insurance numbers and passports and things like that. But as we were putting it together, we almost stumbled across this format because we wanted to have a profile for the people who were going to be on that system. And we decided that when people upload their existing documents in whatever format they are, we could pull out all the key details and find them and highlight them in a format that makes it easy for everyone to view and share. And that was basically how it all started.
Now, I also read somewhere that you highlighted that Microsoft Word is now as old as Return of the Jedi. Is that true?
Yes. Microsoft Word came out in 1983. And the interesting thing about Microsoft Word was never really designed for people to highlight themselves in the way that people need to find work. It was a replacement for the word processor, basically a replacement for the typewriter. What we want to build is a replacement for the Word CV that's focused purely on people's skills and attributes and helps them get across those skills naturally easier to employers.
So a question I have to ask is, how actually can artificial intelligence improve a CV?
So there's two ways really. First of all, we can create it extremely quickly from an existing profile. So you can upload your LinkedIn, and our AI will pull out all the relevant details from your LinkedIn and build it into our InfoCV. You can do the same with a Word document or PDF. You can also start one from scratch, and as we begin to build data, we'll be able to say, for example, we'll be able to tell salespeople, you haven't mentioned how many targets you've hit in the last 12 months within your CV. This is something that we've found helps people get hired quicker. Maybe you'd like to include it, and we can even tell them where to include it. A safety engineer, for example, there's a certificate called the NEBOSH certificate that many safety engineers have. And again, we could highlight to other safety engineers that you haven't mentioned this, or maybe you've mentioned it too low down your CV. And the more data we collect on CVs, the better that AI will be.
So how does it work? And also, what other sources can you import into your CV? Is it just LinkedIn, or are there a number of other ways that you can get information directly in there?
Yeah, so you can import your LinkedIn over to it. You can import your existing Word CV. Many people have started to store their CVs in PDF format now. You can transport that over. You can basically, any text-based document, our AI will pull out the relevant details and build the info CV for you from virtually any format that you might have it existing in at the moment.
So once you've imported all that information and you have a CV in a digital, interactive, and most importantly, mobile-friendly format, how do you share it? I mean, do you have a personal URL? If you have that example of URL, just so I can post it on the show notes for anyone listening, that they can instantly check it out and visualise what it is that you're doing.
Well, there's two to have a look at. infocv.co.uk/Anthony Rose, which is mine, and infocv.co.uk/Keith Robinson, which is our finance director's CV. We have two levels of subscription, so you can have an info CV completely free of charge, and with that you will get a unique URL that contains an identifying number. If you sign up for the pro version, you can get your own unique URL that actually contains your name or job title, so that you will make it much easier for you to be found in Google. One of the things that's just started to begin with us at the moment is Google are now ranking us for various different job titles and things like that. And the more info CVs and content we get on that site, the easier it will be for everybody to find.
Fantastic. I know you're very early on in your journey at the moment, but have you had any feedback from users, recruiters or employees on what you're producing here?
We've had some excellent feedback from sort of all areas. We have candidates who've been coming to us saying they've found it much easier to find a job now they've got an info CV. We've actually had a couple of recruitment companies come to us and ask us to move all their existing CVs into our format. And we've had some high-level HR managers give us some excellent testimonials upon receiving it. One recruitment company that we were dealing with recently, they have 30 different clients who are all hiring managers. They sent the info CV out to those 30, and all 30 came back and said they preferred it in our format than any other.
Because if we're honest, resumes and CVs, they do look incredibly boring. We're living in a visually appealing world now where we expect things to jump out at us. And if anyone that's gone through or tried to pick one out of 20, a pile of 20, it's impossible to do, isn't it, with the old way?
Well, in a previous role I had, we were advertising for salespeople just using traditional methods. And we had over 200 applications for the role. Yeah. Now, if you can imagine how long it takes to go through and sort those CVs in a Word document, you have to download them, save them somewhere, then open them and start searching for all the key phrases. With InfoCV, it just jumps out at you, and you can go directly to the bit parts that are relevant and just jump from one link to the next rather than having to continue to download documents all the time. And as you say, they're extremely boring in the black and white, and you just read through it, and after a while of reading hundreds of CVs, as can happen in a day, your mind does begin to wander. So hopefully this format makes it a lot easier for people to get through them.
So what stage are you on at the moment in your bootstrapping startup journey, and also what are your next steps as we head towards 2018?
So we've had over 10,000 visitors to the site, which is fantastic. We've had over 700 people have signed up. The key part for the system to really work is to increase those numbers. The more candidates we get on, the more the service improves for everybody. The AI will improve, the SEO will improve. So that's really is key for us. Our marketing is the big point for us at the moment. Getting our name out there, getting people to understand. We'll have really won when people start using InfoCV. Instead of saying, send me over your CV or send me over your resume, they'll send, have you got an InfoCV and can you send me the link to that? When people start to use it, the phrase that ubiquitously, then that will be the point when we know we've reached where we need to be.
So you're based in Manchester here in the UK, but do you serve an international audience? Are you open to, we've got listeners in 157 countries to this episode, so I just want to be sure that you are promoting yourself to every country, or are you limited at all?
No, absolutely. We currently, we own the domain name infocv.com, but we're currently just trading off infocv.co.uk. Yeah. However, we've already had sign-ups from over 22 countries. The technology that we use, it really doesn't matter which language you use to create your InfoCV, and so you can create one in Spanish just as easily as you can create one in English.
The fact that you've got people signing up in 22 different countries, there's a great indication that what you do, there is a need for what you guys are doing, isn't it?
We were very pleased. Actually, our first sign-up was from Australia. We're still not sure how that person found out about us. But since then, there really has been an incredible spread of people from all around the world who believe that InfoCV is a great way to promote themselves.
So for anyone listening today who wants to stay in touch with your latest developments, maybe set up their own CV on the platform, or ask your team any questions about anything we've spoken about in the conversation today, what's the best way of doing that?
Well, you can find us at infocv.co.uk. Anybody is welcome to contact me. It's simply anthony@infocv.co.uk. And our Twitter handle is @worldsbestcv. Any of those methods, if anybody wants to get in touch with us and ask me any questions, then we're always open to conversations.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thanks for coming on today. I love what you're doing, and it's a great move away from that old way of doing things that we all know kind of doesn't work, but you're actually doing something about it and creating something different. So I applaud you for that. I wish you the best for the future, and a big thank you for coming on.
That's great. Thank you very much for having me on, Neil.
I know that InfoCV will not stop people filling up their CVs with BS, but anything that can easily make them visually more appealing and also add SEO too has to be a great thing. The fact that Microsoft Word is now as old as Return of the Jedi is quite a revealing fact and lesson that maybe we should be doing things a little bit different now. And an AI-based online interactive digital resume that looks more like an infographic than just a wall of text on a sheet of A4 has to be a great thing, doesn't it? Now, as a writer and blogger, I know that you have to break up any online article now with an image to give the reader's eyes a rest. Otherwise, they just see that wall of text and go off somewhere else to a site that is more aesthetically pleasing. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but this is the way that things are now. So why are CVs that have the potential to secure a role that can dramatically change your life continue to be stuck in the past? But what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm conscious that some employees hate these new formats and are resistant to change, so it's very often hard to know what to do for best. My door is always open for you guys to share your unique insights, so if you want to comment on today's story, any podcast, or just tell me what Black Friday tech deals excite you this year, remember, this is your show, not mine. So email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com or send a quick tweet over to Neil C. Hughes. Speaking of Black Friday deals, I'm off to research what tech gadgets I can secure in next week's sales that I probably want, but let's be honest, don't necessarily need. So until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.